Welcome back on air with Chris Shanafelt, and tonight we are talking Chicago Bears. It's a pleasure to welcome onto the show the editor-in-chief over at WindyCityGridiron.com and the host of the T-Formation Conversation. We are now joined by Lester Wiltfong Jr., and you can follow Lester on Twitter at Wiltfong Jr. That's Wiltfong Jr. And Lester, we always appreciate you taking some time to talk some Bears. How's everything going?
Doing good, Chris. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. And Lester, we've had you on the show a few times, but this is actually our first time talking since the Chicago Bears went on and hired this new coaching staff, starting with Matt Nagy. So I got to get your early impressions. Again, I know we're so very early on in this new tenure. We're only at the mini camp stage of the off season. But what are your early impressions on this new coaching staff, starting with head coach Matt Nagy and the guys that he's been able to bring in and, of course, retain in Vic Fangio?
So far so good with Nagy. This is the guy that I thought would be the best choice from the start. I'm a real big fan of the offense that came from the Andy Reid West Coast offense. A lot of the guys that he's coached have gone and had great success in the NFL. They've always been coaches that have been really, really able to adapt their offense to their talent. And that's what I'm seeing so far with Matt Nagy. He's kind of bringing a lot of guys in. You mentioned, we talk about Halford with the spread, and there's guys in the staff that have West Coast principles. Guys in the staff that have worked in the with the Bernhard Perkins offense. I keep stumbling on that word, but there's a lot of different cooks in the kitchen, and that's kind of what he wants to do. He wants to have a real big think tank, and is going to try to have the best offense he can based on what he has around him. And then on the defensive side of things, it was key bringing back Vic Fangio. This is the defense, that every year he's been in charge has got a little bit better. And the talent hasn't always been there. And last year he started adding some pieces that kind of been able to make some splashes. But this is a defense where it was really bad. 4 years ago with Mel Tucker. Then the first year with Fangio was respectable. A couple years ago got a little better than last year. I thought they played pretty good football. They kind of had to make up for a really, really, really bad offense, and that defense kept them in a lot of games. I think with a better offense, with no more run pass all the time, the offense is going to be able to move the ball a little bit. It'll keep the defense fresh, and the defense play even better now this year. I think if the guys stay healthy, this could be a top 5 unit.
Lester, it's pretty weird. It's pretty unusual. That the Bears are getting a lot of national respect, a lot of love nationally for what they've done with their coaching staff in the off season, in free agency, and of course the NFL draft. And the love only continued last week or earlier in the week when they made the announcement that they re-signed tight end Zach Miller, who for everybody that doesn't know, went down with that very gruesome leg injury against New Orleans last year. They went on to re-sign him to a 1-year vet minimum deal, already placed him on IR. I mean, this is something that's kind of beyond football, and it gives Zach Miller another year to kind of be around the team, his teammates, and of course the team doctors, which is probably most important. He's already gone through 9 surgeries from this injury alone.
Yeah.
I mean, how big was this for the Bears from an organizational standpoint to bring back Zach Miller and make sure he still felt like he was a part of the team, a part of the family? And for you, what's it like seeing the Bears get all this love nationally, not only from media members and reporters, but from other players from around the league that's seen this news as well?
It's a great move by the Bears. I mean, there's nothing negative in bringing back Zach Miller. He's a really good guy. He had a lot of adversity his whole career with injuries. His best time has actually been in Chicago. But the nice thing about this is this shows what the Bears organization as a whole with Ryan Pace, what they stand for. They're making a statement to not only to the Bears locker room, to the league itself, where if there's a free agent out there that's kind of weighing their options between the Bears and another team, something like this could push the envelope where the guy want to come to Chicago because he sees how the Bears take care of their own. And it all speaks to head coach Matt Nagy because Zach Miller, was around OTAs, even before he was signed. And the thing about that is he has no ties to this coaching staff. Zach Miller was here last year with Dow Live and those guys. So by them wanting to have him around the team, it just kind of shows the kind of players they are, the kind of players Zach Miller is, and the kind of coaching staff they have, and it shows how much that he was loved by his teammates, that they wanted to bring him back with open arms. You know, they have the contract, and like I said, he went into the pup list immediately. So there was no intention of ever having him play this year. This is just something they wanted to do to take care of a guy that they really respected, and they wanted to do something nice for him.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they did. Again, great move by Ryan Pace and the Chicago Bears. On to some football talk, though, Lester. I mean, again, haven't spoken to you for a little while, at least haven't talked Bears with you for a little while. Your thoughts on the Bears draft class? Again, another part of this offseason that the Bears have gotten a lot of love. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of A grades, B grades thrown to the Chicago Bears, which I'll take either or. Your thoughts on the Bears draft class, of course, starting with the first round pick, linebacker out of Georgia, Roquan Smith.
You know, I love the entire draft top to bottom. The one guy I was a little unsure of was the guy on the fourth round, Joel, and I'm not going to try to say his last name.
Iggy.
But Iggy, I'll stick with Iggy. You know, he's when you watch his tape, though, man, this guy can play football. You know, this guy he is going to play as a rookie on special teams. He's going to be in the mix probably, and then eventually he could be a starter down the road. But you mentioned Roquan Smith, and this is a guy that's a plug-and-play player. I think by Ryan Pace taking a guy like Smith in the first round, you know, that sends a message that he feels his team is ready to compete this year. You know, the last few years he's always taken projects early, but by him taking a guy that's ready to play from day one shows that he feels his team's ready to go. And I think that's something that's an organization as a whole is being built up. But top to bottom, I thought it was a really good draft class. You know, I'm really excited with the Lyman Daniels, with Miller, the receiver. You know, I think he's going to come in and play again. You know, the Bears got three guys who are going to start off from day one, and they're going to compete a lot and play a lot in this offense, and with Smith on the defense.
Again, we're chatting with Lester Wiltfong Jr. At Wiltfong Jr. on Twitter. He covers the Chicago Bears for WindyCityGridiron.com. And Lester, weakest spot on this team, I think it's a unanimous decision in saying the pass rush. Of course, we know how much potential and how much Leonard Floyd has shown in the past, but he has not been able to stay on the field for all 16 games in either of his two first seasons in the NFL. So that's obviously a big question when it comes to Leonard Floyd. And then who's going to play opposite side of him? I mean, they did address it in the draft by selecting Kylie Fitz out of Utah, who it's maybe a low-risk, high-reward type of selection there in the 6th round. With Fitz, they brought in Aaron Lynch, who has some familiarity with Vic Fangio and the style of defense that he plays from their years in San Francisco. But Aaron Lynch, I mean, you're kind of rolling the dice on making him a starter on your defense. I think he's a great rotational player. And then here he is having a hamstring injury in today's practice, which will keep him out till what sounds like probably the start of training camp. So you're already looking a little thin there. I don't want to worry too much about it, but what are your thoughts on this pass rush that the Chicago Bears have entering training camp, I guess I should say? And do you think there's any chance that first-round pick Roquan Smith will be used maybe in some blitz packages? Will Vic Fangio kind of create some new packages for the first-round pick, Roquan Smith? I mean, he certainly has the athleticism and speed that intrigues, and you got to think if maybe they could rush him up the middle.
Yeah, he did a very good blitz for him. That's what he did in college a lot. You know, he's really good at taking what the offense gives him and finding the holes in there and getting in there and making the blitz or the delay blitz. You know, so that's something that Fangio will do. And if you look at the position with Vic Fangio, he's always used his inside backers. You know, he values them more than most teams in the league. You know, Vic Fangio wants good inside backers because he wants to play a lot of games with them as far as coverage and as far as blitzing. So I think we will see that. And then you mentioned the pass rush. I agree with you. That's my biggest concern with this Bears team is I hate to say it, but there's not one player on this roster I think I'm comfortable with saying is going to be good off the edge. You know, Floyd, you mentioned the injuries. If he's healthy, I think he's going to have a great year, but he hasn't been healthy. You mentioned Lynch. I think if he's healthy, I think he'll have a pretty good year because, you know, what he did with Fangio a couple of years ago was solid, and then the Niners kind of had him gain some weight. went to a different position. This wasn't a good fit for him. He really respects Fangio, and I think that's a good marriage right there, bringing him back. But then you mentioned Fitz again. I think Fitz is a good chance to be a part of the rotation as well. But the last 2 years, he was injured in college. You have to go all the way back to I think 2015 to find some good tape on him, and he was pretty good back then. But again, injuries, and the Bears, they have a lot of sacks. I think they were 8th in the league last year in sacks, but that doesn't really translate to getting the pressure on the quarterback because their pressures are low, their quarterback hits are low. You want to get after the quarterback to get off the spot. It's not only about the sacks. You got to get the pressure as well, and you got to have something off the edge too. And right now, hate to say it, the Bears don't have that.
No, they certainly do not. Unfortunately, I hate to agree with you. Of course, they do have big Akeem Hicks there in the middle. You mentioned Bilal Nichols, the rookie out of Matt Nagy's, of course, alma mater, Delaware. I'm not exactly sure what to expect out of him in year one, but it's going to be something to keep an eye on in this Chicago Bears defense. Certainly. Moving on to the offensive side of the ball, Lester, I mean, it all starts with the quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky, entering year 2. How much of a jump should we expect out of Trubisky in year 2? Of course, this is also a new system he's learning, a very complicated system, it sounds like. And, everybody's kind of comparing or making this Nagy and Trubisky couple or pairing, and comparing them to the Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz or the Jared Goff and Sean McVay. Are those comparisons fair? And again, what should we expect out of Trubisky in year 2?
And I think those comps are fair. I mean, this is the model the NFL has now. You got to get the quarterback. When you have a quarterback, you have to have him surrounded by guys that will build him up, and that's what the Bears did. With Trubisky, you mentioned that the offense is kind of complicated, which it is. But the nice thing is a lot of the concepts of what he did in North Carolina, the option stuff. That's what we're going to see a lot of with the Bears this year. There's going to be a lot of stuff out of the shotgun. There will be some spread concepts in this offense. So I mean, he's already having a really good offseason. And then the fact that they went out and got receivers and tight ends and they're really building everything up around him. They're giving him every chance to succeed, and that's what the Bears have to do, and that's what they did in Philly and in L.A.
Absolutely. That's exactly what they did. They did not only make big splashes in free agency, but they also hit on their draft picks as well. And what I love about these next few players I'm about to bring up is they're all very young. They're either entering their first or second year in the NFL, which says something, and hopefully they pan out and looks great for Ryan Pace. But I'm curious, Lester, as to what you think Adam Shaheen, the second-year tight end out of Ashland, last year's second-round pick. Obviously, they went out and signed Trey Burton in free agency, gave him a big deal, and, of course, last year added Deion Sims, and Sims is still with the team. So it looks like maybe Shaheen maybe is the second tight end, maybe third on the depth chart entering training camp. Do you think Shaheen makes an improvement from last year in this offense? I mean, I got to think, maybe playing 2 tight end sets and having Trey Burton on the opposite side of Shaheen helps not only Shaheen out, but helps Burton out as well. Probably helps both of them out, seeing as they're both receiving targets. I guess a lot of people kind of gave up on Shaheen last year, and then he kind of showed a little bit towards the end of the year before he got hurt and before the coaching staff kind of went away from him. They obviously didn't seem to have too much confidence in him. What do you think Nagy can get out of Shaheen in this offense?
It's a very big jump for Adam Shaheen. He went from Ashland to college to the NFL. He's 6'6", 275. I mean, he has a good size. He's a pretty good athlete, although last year at times he didn't look that like it. But I think a lot of it was he was very unsure of himself, and I think he kind of showed up with him when he played. But when you got a guy that big and that athletic, and you want to watch him block, and his blocking wasn't the best, but he was a willing blocker. And whenever I look at a guy that plays that position, from college to the pros, you got to look at is he willing to block? If he's willing to stick his nose in there, a good coach will coach him up, and that's what Shaheen is. He's willing. I think he has the size, he has the strength to be coached up. And I think if he can show that he can play the Y position, which I think that's what the Bears want him to be, he'll get some reps. And you mentioned Deion Sims. I liked that signing last year. It just didn't pan out for the Bears for whatever reason. I think part of it was just the offense just kind of didn't know what they wanted to do with him, which is sad because he's a classic Y, and they should have done a lot of play action with him, but they didn't do it. But I think the plan is for Burton to be the U, which is what they had with Kelsey and Casey. They want Shaheen to be the Y, and then Sims is also going to be the Y. But Matt Nagy's already mentioned that Shaheen is athletic enough to play some of the U as well. So depending on how he develops, you may see Shaheen all over the field.
And, again, looking at this offense and what they've done in this offseason and comparing it to what Philadelphia did last year, and then, of course, what Los Angeles did last year, adding pieces to the offense and helping their young quarterbacks succeed. Another piece I want to touch on with you, Lester, is Tariq Cohen, the second-year running back. Obviously, had a nice impact on the team last year, both on special teams and on the offense, coming in for Jordan Howard. Now, a lot of people, when Matt Nagy was hired, said they were unsure if Jordan Howard really fits into this offense. Matt Nagy has said a couple of different times that Jordan Howard does indeed fit in this offense, and he will be the primary back. But Tariq Cohen, he goes out and I believe he was on that Good Morning Football show on NFL Network the other day, and he had a quote saying, "I'm everywhere in the offense. Coach Nagy made me learn every position," which I think is a great idea. I mean, throw him at receiver, throw him in the slot, throw him in the backfield. I mean, put him anywhere you can. Just get him the football. Where will we be seeing, or how much of an impact can we see Tariq Cohen have in this offense in year two?
And I think Tariq Cohen is going to be the backup to Jordan Howard, obviously. He's also going to play, like you said, he played some receiver, which he did last year. But I think this year the Bears are going to make a point to try and get him the ball, which is something I'm not sure the coaching staff really did last year. I think a lot of the stuff he got was kind of happened as part of the offense. It wasn't really where they were trying to feature him. But with a guy like Tariq Cohen, he has the skills where you have to feature him. You have to get the ball in his hands. You have to make an effort to kind of scheme him open. And that's something this coaching staff will do. He'll play tailback. He'll play the zebra receivers, was kind of what they had with the Chiefs had with Tariq Hill last year. So he'll kind of be all over the offense. He'll line up all over the place. Then you mentioned Jordan Howard real quick. As a rookie, he led the entire NFL in yards per carry from the shotgun. I think it was 7 yards per carry. Last year, for some reason, the Bears didn't run a lot of shotgun, I didn't understand the offense at all last year. But this year they're going to go back to the shotgun, and you're going to see Jordan Howard. For whatever reason, Jordan Howard likes running from the shotgun. He's talked about it. The coaching staff has talked about going back to the shotgun. He's a true zone, one cut and go runner. That's what Jordan Howard is. That's what this offense wants him to be. And if he can work on his catching, which he's been doing all off season again, if he can get that where the hands are okay, the concentration is down, and if he can make that step there as a receiver, we may see a really, really big year out of Jordan Howard.
And staying with the running back position, Lester, we talk about Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. How about Benny Cunningham? They bring him back. It almost looked like he was going to sign with New Orleans. Instead, the Bears bring him back. And, looking at how Kansas City ran their offense for quite a few years before Kareem Hunt came into play, they always kind of had at least a two-headed monster, if not a three-headed monster at times there in KC, especially when Jamal Charles was going down with the knee injuries, and they would have Charkandrick West and, name after name, and they seem to always make it work. So here in Chicago, Matt Nagy has Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. I got to think Benny Cunningham, we know what he can do on special teams. I got to think we'll see him quite a bit on offense as well. What do you think about that?
He's a little bigger than Cohen. And if you watch what Cunningham did with the Rams, he had some big plays out there. So, he understands how to catch the ball. He's a really good blocker in the passing game. He's really good at pass pro. So with Benny Cunningham, I think last year the plan was to have him be the number two as Cohen kind of came along. But Cohen kind of came along a lot quicker than they thought. They kind of were forced to play Cohen a little bit. I think this year you're going to see, like you said, you're going to see all three guys getting some touches. You're going to have when it's time to be in on third downs, you're going to see some Cohen, some Cunningham, and a little bit of Howard as well. But I like Cunningham. You mentioned he's a good special teamer. He's a good teammate. He's a good guy in the locker room. And when he's pressing the action, he can play some football too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Final question for you, Lester. I know it's way too early to make a prediction, but I don't want you to, unless you absolutely want to, I don't want you to give us like a record prediction, but how do you think year one in this Matt Nagy led Chicago Bears team, how do you think they'll do this season? I mean, their schedule is certainly very competitive, very strong, especially to start the season at Green Bay. Primetime football, and then from there you got another night game at home against Seattle. Looking at the schedule, it looks pretty tough, but and as you mentioned, I mean, this isn't, as great as things sound right now and as great as things look, things need to start turning around pretty quickly. I mean, we see it all the time in the NFL, year after year. New coaching staffs get things done. So it's not like Nagy's going to have 5 years to get this thing figured out. Both he and Ryan Pace will be out the door if it takes that long. What exactly are your expectations for the Chicago Bears heading into this first season under Matt Nagy?
I'm very optimistic. I think they made a lot of good moves this offseason. I guess I am drinking the Kool-Aid. It's not as strong as other Kool-Aid that people are drinking. So I don't quite have them in the playoffs yet. But I think they're going to be one of those teams where when it's like, the end of the year, they're going to have a chance to make the playoffs. Whether they make it or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I think this team will be much improved. Another thing, I think this team could finish fourth in the division and still be improved over last year. It's a really tough division. The Packers, the Vikings are going to be there, all year long as they stay healthy. And the Lions got some talent too. So, if the Bears are pushing with a 500 record, I think that's all you can ask for in the first year of the offense, and the defense kind of builds up again. And then next year, they got to show up. But this team is going to be better than last year. It's going to be really exciting to watch them play offense. And when's the last time we could say that in Chicago?
Yeah, and hey, how about this? When's the last time we were able to say that they, come December, they could be pushing for a playoff spot? Maybe they won't get one. But, like you, Lester, I mean, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid as well. Really like what they've done in the off season with these new additions to the team. And I think there's a really good chance that this team, could finish 500, 8-8. Again, I mean, we still have training camp. We still have the preseason in which the Bears have 5 preseason games this year with the Hall of Fame game. So a lot to still see how things work out, but again, a very exciting off season. Hopefully it pays out during the regular season. Lester, really appreciate you hopping on the show. Always a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks for the great insight. Before I let you go, please let the people know where they can check out your work at, and of course your podcast as well.
I am at WindyCityGridiron.com. I'm the editor-in-chief over there. We got a bunch of awesome writers, so check out the page. Just for all those other guys besides me too. I'm on Twitter at WiltfongJR, and my podcast has kind of been shut down a little bit for the off season, but I'll be getting that going up again now probably the next week or two. That is T-Formation Conversation on iTunes.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Lester. Really appreciate it, man.
Anytime, Chris. Have a good one.
You too.